Welcome, everybody, to an all-new episode of the Galactic Review. I know you guys see that things look different. They look fancy. They look nice. They look polished. We look professional. And that is because Jayla has completely made us look professional top to bottom. Jayla is a complete rock star. Love the intro. Love everything. This is a great setup. Like Joel said, this is definitely something we should have been doing forever ago. So shout out to Jayla for getting us moving forward. So thank you very much, Jayla. But we are back for an all-new episode of Galactic Review. We are here to break down episode 4 of Kenobi. Part of me does not like that these Star Wars shows tend to not name their episodes. That really irks me.
I'm not as opposed to
Chapter 4.
I hate everything about it because it's just like think about how not confusing, but like how repetitive it is to where it's like, yo, what was your favorite episode? And you're like, well, episode 3. Knowing that Star Wars categorizes their movies like episode 3, episode 1, episode 2. To me, just name it something. I don't care.
I mean, to be fair, it's called part 3 on this.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, we are ready to break down episode 4. Let me introduce my panel, starting off with Trevon. What's up, Trevon?
Hey, I can't wait to talk about this. This episode is good, but of course not as good as last week. But you know,
Bless you.
Thank you.
We'll get into it. We'll get into what happened in this episode.
Oh, we definitely will. I got some shits to say. Next up, Didge. What's up, Didge?
What's up, guys? Long time no see, you know?
Yeah, I haven't potted with you in like a full 24 hours. It's crazy.
Right? So, but I'm excited to talk about this episode. You could tell that this was supposed to be the bridge episode, and I'm glad that how still entertaining it was. Sometimes those episodes can drag. Bless you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Wow, yeah.
It is.
Think I got another one.
Oh, God.
Oh.
No, okay,
Oh.
we're good. Yeah, no, I do I have another one? This fucking sneeze.
I hate that feeling where it's like
my
you gotta
God.
sneeze, but you don't have to sneeze.
Oh man, it's haunting me.
I hate
It's
that
like,
feeling.
The sneeze right now is at the tip of my nose. Like, say something, bitch. Say something.
Get right into your senses. Get right into it.
But yeah, my problem was there being 6 episodes. I said this last week. Your ability to give me a bridge would have been last week. You don't get to give me a bridge in episode 4, and there's only 2 more
But
episodes.
this felt like it was supposed to be a bridge, and even
Did it feel like it was supposed to? Yes. Should I have a bridge this close to my finale?
I mean, with 6 episodes, episode 3 and episode 4 are going to feel very similar.
But
This should have been last week.
Felt drastically
been.
more important than episode 4.
But I'm saying, if you would have got the bridge last week, it would have felt like this is a lot close to my finale. It would have felt the same.
No, not really. Because again, you're splitting it. So I'm like, the first half, you're really setting it up, and you have the freedom to kind of make these kind of fuck ups. And then the last half is where that should be where all your great shit is. All your constant nonstop hits should at least be in your latter half, right?
I feel like in a 6 series, unless your bridge is episode 2, I just think it was just sad. You had no choice but it feeling like it was too close.
I also believe you should not have a bridge episode in 6 episodes. 6 episodes, every fucking one should hit.
Now that's a whole other conversation that I do agree with you on.
Like you also shouldn't be giving me a filler in the middle of a six episode.
I wouldn't call it a filler. It just wasn't.
This shit was filler. I say it was filler.
Filler. It was important.
Where?
They saved the girl. That's a big part of the story.
To me, that was one of those more obvious things. Like that was more like that shit could have essentially happened on screen.
Skip that is what I'm trying to say.
No, right. You're absolutely right. But to me, I view it as more so just like there were just better ways to have done it.
No, that's completely different than being a filler. That's not a filler.
Well, to me, I view this the same way I do episode 2 of season 2 of Mandalorian when they fucking went to that ice spider planet. Like, what the?
No, this is more important than that because,
you can skip
like
that
you said,
and not miss a beat.
Like Joel said, you can't not show them saving Leia. That would have felt very weird to just go to the next scene and it's like, or it goes to the next episode and it's, oh yeah, Leia's back. And it's like, what we saw.
Yeah, I don't disagree in the sentiment of you had to show her being rescued. I just very much am very disappointed in the
execution.
Just the writer in Deborah. Like, how do you, again, so let's jump into this. I'm gonna just start off with what I liked and then pass it on, right? Because outside of what I liked, everything else to me was a fucking wash. So I don't need to go into it. You can assume that I didn't like it because I didn't bring it up. So the best thing for me out of this episode was and again, they keep biting his fucking flow but won't bring him into canon. What Kenobi did was a Star Killer 101. That was the promo for Force Unleashed 2.
Oh,
was that exact scene of Star-Lord. Yes, him being chained up and then shutting the lights off.
Yeah.
And you just seeing the motion of the lightsabers take out the guards. I remember seeing that like, fuck yes.
They also
awesome.
kind of did it in Mandalorian season 2 with Ahsoka. That was essentially, remember when they were outside?
Yes, yeah, 100%, 100%.
So
yes,
it's something that they keep going back to the well with, because I think they just know like this is a fucking cool.
It's a dope ass visual.
Yeah.
I like that. I also loved it. This part really kind of made me like sit up. I was laying down and I sat up because I enjoyed it so much. I love how powerful Leia is in the Force that she wasn't able to be cracked. She couldn't get through into her mind because she's so powerful in the Force. And I really love that. I was like, I like that. The Skywalkers are very strong in the Force. I don't mind that. And the funnier part was Leia didn't even know. Yeah. Like she was just rejecting her from her mind. So I thought that was great. To me though, please, Deborah Chow, I beg of you. Obi-Wan Kenobi is a Jedi. In every sense of the word, he is a throwback Jedi. I don't ever want to fucking see a blaster in his hand. Fucking use the lightsaber that you have. Don't shoot shit. Use a lightsaber. Stop shooting shit. That really irked me. But the other thing that I really did enjoy, to a degree, was Darth Vader having a hissy fit, storming into the room. And then they ruined it with the very next thing that they did there. But I did enjoy Darth Vader having a hissy fit. Like, bitch, didn't I specifically say, when you find him, you call me? We just had this conversation. Like, I just told you a day ago. You know what I'm saying? But it also does harken back, as I pass it to you, Didge. It does bother me a little bit. I thought that there was an ulterior motive behind Vader watching Kenobi get rescued in that fire, right? Like, it was a bigger plan. He was seeing if Kenobi was going to lead him to more Jedi or, you know, some of the rebels. The fact that Vader didn't do any of that, he just watched them walk away, is very much just like, well, now that's a little unsettling. It was cool last week when it seemed more like it was methodical. It was planned. But when Vader was just like, bitch, you had him and you let him walk, it's like, you just fucking had him and let him walk. What the fuck are we talking about here? Like.
So I guess with that, the first off, I don't know if her failure necessarily was the fact that she let him get away, or not. I'm not that she didn't tell him. It was that she let him get away.
Right.
So I think that's sort of why he came in just basically on 10. Or as like my cousin liked to put, he was on Black Air Force energy. He was 100%.
Yes,
he came in on 100% Black Air Force energy.
He laced them shoes the fuck out.
He came in, arm was already out ready. He was halfway down the hall, arm was ready. But I think it was more so with him letting Kenobi get away last week. It was like we were saying during that entire time. It wasn't a fight. It was really Vader just like, I want to toy and torture with you. You got your torture. Now you have to live with it. Like I want you to live with it. I want you to sort of deal with that failure a little bit more before I come to kill you.
Yeah, but I'd give you that if Vader had him. But to me, it took you 10 years to find the motherfucker. You got him, and now you're kind of just like, no, I want to hunt for him again. No,
I think it seems like he's being he knows the torture aspect of it. I think it's that, just the more of the mind games of knowing at some point you're going to want to come back to me.
I'll tell you this. If I robbed a bank for $10 million, right? And you run off with it, and I spend 10 years finding you, I find you again. What's the one thing you can bet your ass I'm not letting happen again? That fucking money leaving my site ever again. Because what happens if it's another 10 years before you find them again?
Theoretically, for all we know,
it was. That's my point. So I'm like, oh man, that's why I said you're dealing with a timeline that we already got information for. So now you're trying to weave in and out of continuity to where you're trying to make it make sense. But it's like, and again, I'm waiting to see how it plays out. But I'm watching Kenobi spend all this time with Leia, only for 10 years from now, Leia to still vaguely only know who Kenobi is. And it's like, well, what the fuck happened?
Well, that's like you said, it's tough to do this. Just because it is a situation of how do you interweave canon when so much was already built and stuff beyond it has happened and everything.
I'm listening to the interview that the writer had, and this guy is saying like, no, I felt as though we had a blank canvas to where, we could do whatever we wanted. And
well,
I'm
that's
like,
a lie.
I'm like, well, it shows like you literally, and the thing that I think upset me the most is when he said, I've never seen Revenge of the Sith. And I'm just like, see, this is what bothers me. Like, I kind of feel like you don't need to maybe know all the books forward and back.
Right.
But this is supposed to be literally the very next leg of after Revenge of the Sith. You should have at least seen the movies. At least.
That's a wild statement.
Yeah, that's
which this is very true. Which I love this with StreamYard that you can pull up a comment because this is also true. It is definitely a trope, but I think it's I guess an in-world reason, like I said, is they're trying to make it so Vader is sort of playing with his food, so to speak.
It's not really a Vader like even when Vader had Riva essentially choking with the Force, and she goes, No, I let him escape, and Vader's just like, tell me more. What, like, that's not a Vader thing to do. Vader would have been very much just like, I don't care why he escaped. I don't care that you let him escape. Yeah. Like,
no, that was also really weird. It was one of those things in the episode that I didn't like. Like I said, this episode, it felt very much like a bridge episode. It wasn't my favorite episode. It was very much saved by Vader coming in with the Black Air Force energy. That and Kenobi taking out the stormtroopers like that. But it was one of those ones where I was just sort of like, it's a means to an end. You got to have one of these episodes. You got to have, you have to save Leia somehow. Like I said at the beginning, it would have been very weird for it to be next episode, Leia's automatically saved. And then you're like, well, what the fuck? We literally saw her run into Riva at the end of an episode. How is she back?
I do want to ask you about this, Didge, because this was, I remember saying to myself out loud, right? I'm like, soon as I saw him hit that back to tank, I said, well, if we learned anything from Book of Boba, back to tank equals memories, right? And I'm just like, oh, flashback time.
Definitely thought flashback.
I
was so upset.
This motherfucker was having FaceTime sex with Vader. Them motherfuckers was just Skyping each other through the Force, and I'm like, what the fuck
they weren't noticing. They were seeing each other. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm like,
it essentially was just them being haunted by each other, but they could sense each other.
Okay, that's what I thought, but I was like, maybe it's like editing. They're trying to show the similarities or whatnot.
Yeah, to me, I was just like, that would have been a perfect time. And you know what? I'll even say this. I didn't even, if you wanted to tell me, hey, we're not going to do the Clone Wars flashback there, no problem. You know what I would have at least liked? Vader's point of view of Mustafar. And you just showing that as much as Mustafar haunts Kenobi, it haunts Anakin just the same, right? Like, it's something Vader constantly has on replay. So you're just giving us it's haunting him. And it's just fueling him even more. And I'm just like, you spin that just to put the motherfucker in there for 5 seconds, pull his ass out, and then go, hey, I don't think you could do this. You barely had time to heal. I'll be fine. Why even do that then? He was there for 2 seconds. He didn't heal. So
shit.
Like, what are we doing?
Well, he healed.
What are we doing? No,
he didn't heal.
How do you figure he didn't heal?
We saw Boba in a back to tank for half a fucking episode with just a little small blaster.
You saw his arm. It did heal.
I don't think it was. It's either it wasn't as burnt.
Came out.
Yeah, it either wasn't as burnt as
he was crispy when it started, and like towards he didn't finish healing, but he definitely healed.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel like it was way too short.
I don't think that was a proper representation of a proper healing.
No.
Like, yeah, no. The back to tank just keeps Vader. It keeps his pain at ease. When he's outside of it, he's in constant agony.
It's like taking painkillers.
Yes, that's exactly what it is. Because when he's not in it, even though it looks like he's fine, he's in constant pain when he's not in that said back to tank.
Which is also why it's wild that they made him patient with that with that answer. Because it's like, if I'm in constant pain and you fucked up, I don't have the patience to hear this.
Yeah. And I definitely would have preferred, even if Vader didn't want to do anything to Riva, I would have preferred him to take out like a stormtrooper on his way out.
Right.
Like, when Vader gets that angry, he needs to release it. It's never just like, all right, fam, let me calm down. No, Vader's like, hey, somebody got to feel this shit.
Vader is never the person to be like, man, I was wilding. I get it.
I was tripping. My bad. All right, let me see how it play out.
Because she said that Kenobi's the only thing that mattered, but I was like, well, but by letting him go, you're making everybody else matter, like the people they're trying to get to. So if Kenobi's the only thing that matters, why let him go? That didn't make sense. I was like, what do you mean?
I mean, I think also my biggest pushback is now I'm kind of like, for this to all be worth it for me, Riva can't die. And here's why I say it. You're focusing a lot on Riva, and we still have yet any background.
I thought we were going to get something when she was talking with Leia.
Some flashbacks, nothing. So I'm like, she's seeming to mean more than we ever thought she would. Again, fine with it. But now I'm like, at some point, we now have 2 episodes left. I don't give a fuck about Riva in these last 2 episodes. I need a Clone Wars flashback, and then I need my rematch. So I'm like, you now, in between that, got to fit in a Riva narrative for it to make a little bit more sense.
Unless Juwaan wasn't lying when he messed up and said 7, 8, and 9.
Maybe. Look, I tell you what, it'll save
season 2.
That's what I'm saying. Maybe the rumors are true.
I tell you this, it'll save this series if those rumors are true. It'll save it a lot. Because then it'll at least say, you know what? You weren't cramming it all into 6 episodes. You are going to space it out.
Trying to space it out.
Right.
But we don't know that, though. You know,
that's what I'm saying. I'm willing to wait to see what the journey is. But as of now, I'm getting too much of Riva. And now with 2 episodes left, I still don't understand where all this hate is coming from. Because you look at the other Inquisitors, none of them motherfuckers are looking at hunting Jedi as like a pastime. Like, not their main job. It's like just some shit they do as a hobby. So like to them, they're just like, I kill a Jedi, I don't kill a Jedi, life goes on. To her, it's like, I need this. You know what I'm saying? And you can't even say, oh, it's just because she wants to grow in the ranks. We saw, what was it? The 7th brother, whatever the fuck he is. We saw that he has ambitions to become the
5th brother. I think
the 5th brother.
Yeah. It is the 5th brother. Yeah.
We see that he has aspirations to being the Grand Inquisitor. So it's like, well, you can't even separate that. So a lot of her motivations, you just need to flesh out. And I hope they don't try to pull the ruse of she wasn't a true Inquisitor. She was working with the rebels and just tried to infiltrate. 6 episodes isn't enough for you to pull that shit. Because unless it's very convincing, it's difficult, bro. It's really difficult. Didge, as you finish up, I want to ask you, did you catch the animated Clone Wars Easter egg in this episode?
The guy who was, I was really upset about that because coming in, you saw all the tweets like, yeah, we're gonna get Clone Wars flashbacks, and it's like, oh, this is the flashback.
The guy who helped Ahsoka find his lightsaber, that's what you thought I was going to hang on to in this week?
Is that who that was? He looks familiar, but I just...
Yeah, it was from the episode where...
He gets lost.
Yeah, where she lost her lightsaber, and he helped her.
Yeah,
I remember. It
wasn't enough. Like, I really hope...
Enough? What? That wasn't even a little bit of that shit.
I didn't hear anything about the last 2 episodes being an hour plus, but
that is Stranger Things.
I know for sure. Stranger Things are, yeah.
I don't know about Obi-Wan yet.
It's something's gonna have to give. Like I said, I'm not turning on the series. I think it's still great. I'm glad we got it. I'm still enjoying it.
Yeah,
But I'm starting to get a little worried about, are they going to stick the landing? Because
to me, I think the best thing this show could do is, even though it's going to sound like it doesn't make sense, confirm season 2. Confirm season 2 now. So regardless of what your last 2 episodes are, I'll put no amount of pressure on it because I know that there's more to come. But if I got to wait for that shit, wait for the confirmation that there's a season 2, and you don't stick the landing, in my mind, you ended it there. That's how it ends until I get confirmation. So
what happens if it's like what Marvel does? Like Obi-Wan will return in season 2.
That's fine. That's a confirmation. I'll take that. That's fine.
You gotta wait. You gotta wait till the end of the credits for that.
No. I'm saying if I get that at the end of the credits, that's not waiting months or a year to hear something. You know what I'm saying? Gotcha. That's just waiting till the end of the next 2 episodes. I could do that. But if it takes months to hear this shit,
you can't leave. Yeah, you can't leave.
Yeah. You can't leave us in suspense like that.
You can't leave the end of June.
That's Star Wars Blue Balls. You can't do that.
As great as this series, as good as this series has been, no argument there. You're not even the Mandalorian. Mandalorian could do some crazy shit like that. Like, wait, is there going to be another season? Well, it was so good. I'm willing to wait. You got to stick the landing in these last 2
Even
episodes.
if you announce a Vader series, because then
I'd even accept that.
Then it's like, okay, cool. We know whatever happens with Obi-Wan. It's like, all right, cool. We know the entire story isn't done.
Yeah. You got to do something, because like I said, this episode made me kind of go like, well, wait a minute. Like,
this is the first one where I got worried. Like, shit, are we? Is the pacing a little too slow?
And from what I'm hearing, because I thought this from the beginning, and it turns out I was wrong. Turns out Filoni was not hands-on in this series.
Really?
So I'm like, it feels like it. Because I'm like, I watched Clone Wars, and I felt how authentic that Obi-Wan Kenobi was. And now I'm looking at this, and I'm like, this kind of seems like somebody who vaguely understands Obi-Wan. Like, they get it, just not really get it. Right? And it's obviously the same problem a lot of people had with Robert Rodriguez doing Book of Boba, right? Like, it screamed like somebody that appreciated the character, but maybe didn't fully get the character. So that's
interesting, because Deborah Chow has literally a quote where saying that he was a touchstone for the series. Anytime she needed anything or had a question, she went to him.
I tell you what, she must have went to him, and when he said it, she was like, fuck, I forgot everything he said. Shit.
So that's because I was gonna say, when you said that you heard that he wasn't, I was like, I could have sworn I read a quote saying that he was.
No,
but it was, so I guess hands-on and touchstone aren't necessarily the same thing.
Right. Because you can make an argument that he was very hands-on in season 2 of The Mandalorian, and you could tell that because a lot of season 2 felt like the world that he's built for us in the cartoons.
Yeah.
You get nothing about this feels like anything Dave Filoni would have stamped, is all I'm saying. Again, I don't think it's bad. I just think, again, you decided to take a timeline that we kind of already had answers to. So now it's the idea of you trying to finagle your way in and out of certain lines, and you saying things like, well, it could be interpreted like this. No one's ever interpreted it like that till now. Now you're bringing in a new narrative. You know, like I said,
this is literally the first time that I got worried about, is this show going to stick the landing? The first 3 episodes, I was like, oh, this is slam dunk. This is clearly we're in for this. And in this episode, as we got about halfway through it, I'm like, this is dragging along a little too much. This episode. Yeah. Is it going to stick that landing?
It's a slow start to the second half of the story.
Right.
So you're like, well, now you're worried because, like, whoa, they have a lot to make.
They have a lot to cover in 2 episodes.
Exactly.
Yeah, to me, I kind of feel like you should have went more for home runs, because Obi-Wan Kenobi is as established of a character as you could possibly get. So there is no laying the groundwork. Every generation knows Obi-Wan Kenobi. Right. So there's nothing you have to teach us or reinvent the wheel anywhere. Just go all out. Go all out and fill in some of those blanks more accurately than you have been. Because now you're just confusing me. Because now I'm like, well, do they completely wipe Leia's memory? like what? Yeah, that is also true, Joe. If I'm Vader, I'm like, fuck. I've had Leia in my possession twice now.
Bro, she's definitely gonna get captured more than once in her lifetime.
We definitely know Vader will have her again. This will not
be the first, second, third, fourth, fifth time.
So yeah, that's definitely frustrating. But Trevon, I want to pass it to you, and I want to pass it to you with these two specific questions. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
A, did it bother you when she open palm slapped the stormtrooper and he fell down? Did that bother you? And did them walking in the middle of a facility with a child underneath someone's jacket? Like, I can't fucking see that. like
it
I
was
see
wrong.
that.
It was just, it's so. I was like, y'all getting away with a lot in this facility. Like, I was like,
Wait, really quickly, Trevon, let me say this. I can always buy that the stormtroopers were meant to be like essential, like brainless idiots, right? I get that. But I only accepted that when it came to them shooting. Like, they just don't have aim,
Man,
right?
they made the stormtroopers.
But when you made it to where they are blind, deaf, dumb, like every possible conceivable thing you could be, they were all that. They were just like, what? I don't see her walking next to him with something hiding underneath. Who sees that?
I was like, come
on, guys. Come on. Just try a little harder is all I'm saying.
Yeah, they messed up with that. It was very cheesy to get away with that.
And she was just sitting up there just talking on that mic thing. Like, I was like, there's nothing, like, you sitting right here, fam. Like, this ain't suspicious to you. Like, I know you see her.
He looked over at one
constantly,
point.
But she was talking constantly.
He
was
like it was one of those, like, if you're in a call, if you ever worked in a call center, looked over like, fam, what kind of conversation you having?
like
did she just say Kenobi?
It confused me. I was like, so at that point you were talking, but then the other time, like when she said Ben, and they could hear that. Oh, so you couldn't hear it before? Like, like, I was like, it's not like she was yelling. She was talking like she was before. So you didn't hear it no other time. Like,
and I do have to ask you about this, Trevon, because again, that's why I say you got to kind of be careful when you put loopholes in that close to each other. So just 2 episodes ago, we saw Riva use the Force to extract information from someone's brain.
Yeah.
She gets in a room with someone she thinks is a traitor, and you decide this is the time to ask 21 questions. Go in her head, extract the information, move on, move it along.
Right.
Because then we see her try to use it on Leia. So I'm like, so you pick and choose when you want to use
it? Yeah.
Like, I was confused with that one. How did she didn't recognize that Leia had some latent Force sensitivity?
You're strong. I was like,
because Leia wasn't knowingly using it.
But you would think that you would think it's still Force. We know she's Force.
She is, but because she hasn't tapped into it at all. So, like, that was like a defense mechanism.
Right, but I'm just thinking
it wasn't Leia using it, essentially.
But that would have alerted you that that's a Force-sensitive child, right?
I would have thought it would have. Right?
Usually, when you find Force-sensitive children, it's because they've exuded some, like, usually a child will float something. You're like, oh, shit, Force. Leia's never tapped into any of that.
I got that part. I just assumed that even if it was subconscious use,
you better not.
Yeah, you absolutely right.
I assume subconscious use would still sort of show that.
Yeah,
I'm really confused.
I don't think so. I don't think so, but I could be wrong. Let me make sure I'm putting that out there. I could be wrong, but I mean, I think it's because
evidence shows you're right so far.
Well, no. Because look, they could be not making sense, right? I could just be trying to understand it, but it don't mean they're making any sense. But go ahead, Trevon. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I'm just, as I'm looking at this show, and because I've seen the movie, like all of us have seen the movies, we know, like, there's only so much you can do before you mess up continuity. Just like, okay, so she is around Vader, like right there, it's just. I know y'all said she's not showing or anything, can't sense nothing, but it's like,
well, to be fair,
you can't be around her for too long.
No, to be fair, in the comics, Vader and Luke had a whole confrontation, and unless he was just putting the greatest acting job ever, he didn't know that Luke was his son.
I mean, he did capture her when she was older too. They were face to face.
That's what I'm saying. So, like, to be fair, that is, I can understand that because remember in the comics when him and Luke had showed up, when Luke and them had showed up, it was before, I think it's supposed to be set right after A New Hope, like in the comics between those, and he had a whole confrontation with him, and the only way that he was about to recognize it is because he had snatched the lightsaber from Luke, and he's like, I recognize this lightsaber.
Right, yeah.
And then that's the only thing that sort of started to jog his memory. It wasn't even still that, hey, I can know who you are or anything.
Right.
That's probably where
it's obviously harder than we think to identify the Force user.
A lot of times, Trevon, when you've never used it, it's easier to hide it because you don't know that you have it. But it's when you use it, you then don't know how to hide it because it's so new to you, right? And that's why I said for a lot of the kids, when they start to exude it, they don't know how to turn it off. Right. So it's like, well, I'm fucking levitating everything around here.
Well, that's why I thought a subconscious one
at that point.
Yeah, I just thought a subconscious use would still be considered a use.
Well, also, I do want to throw in there, Skywalker's minds are supposed to be, very strong. Also, he's supposed to be very strong-willed. Apparently,
it's definitely strong-willed.
It skipped Anakin.
Definitely skipped
Luke and Leia. Yeah, it went right to Luke and Leia. But yeah, so that was that could also be looked at as a loophole. I'm not arguing that down at all, but I'm just saying for the purposes of what I assume the show is trying to exude to us is that she hasn't tapped into it. So it doesn't radiate from her. It's not like a beacon.
I mean, to be honest, I was glad it didn't come because I was like, oh, that's gonna break canon immediately.
Yeah.
So I was kind of glad it didn't, but I was just like, oh.
She's just always shown the potential, just never actually developed it until much, much later.
Because I can tell you this right now, if Leia ever thought that she had the Force, that scene of her asking for Obi-Wan's help would have gone down a whole lot differently. It would have been more so like, yo, Obi-Wan, where did I find these lightsabers?
Right.
I hear y'all be having up there.
Where'd you get that lightsaber?
I got the Force now, so I want to learn how to wield some shit. So it would have went down. Yeah, it would have went down a little bit differently had she known she had the Force. I don't think she would have been easily captured. Is all I'll say. But what else did you think of this episode, Trevon?
I mean, it was very interesting. I guess I should have realized this when she had Lola. I thought she was just gonna break it in front of her, just like
I definitely thought
that's what I thought she was gonna do. But she didn't do that. I didn't like dawn on me. Maybe she put something in it. I didn't even.
Me neither.
Like at all.
Me neither.
Like,
Me neither.
So I was like, but then when she was like, she put a track on, I was like, it's probably on Lola. I was like, after you said that, I was like, gotta be on Lola because it ain't on her. I don't think it's on Leia. I feel like it's on that droid.
See,
so,
you're better than I am, Trevon, because I thought in that moment she was talking about she put it on Leia.
You see like oh yeah, you saw it.
No. I'm saying we know it turned out being Lola. I'm saying in the moment when she said it, I assume she just dropped something on Leia because I'm like, they were rushing out of there. Nobody's checking for bugs or anything like that.
I thought about the only thing she touched.
The
only thing she touched was Lola. So it must be where she put it at. So I was like, where else?
I was thinking where they could have said that she did it is when she was trying to get into Leia's mind, and you only saw one hand. So the other hand could have maybe, while she was distracting her here. So I'm like, that could have made sense. But then when she was like Lola, I was just like, yeah, because that could have just happened off camera, where she did something to Lola, whatever. So I'm like, that's fine. Right. The bigger question is, when did she put it back on her? It's a bigger question, but again, that's not important.
When did she get Lola back?
That makes sense.
Right.
Yeah.
When did she get Lola back?
That was all off screen.
Yeah, that was all off screen. That was all.
He's a stupid droid. I would have thought twice about that.
First thing, if I was like, you didn't break it? That's very nice of you. Everyone keeps breaking my shit.
I just wish you was gonna snap it right then. But yeah, I mean, Vader coming in and just force choke. Like, I know she get tired of getting force choked, but she gets sick of that because that happened a few times at this point. Like, I'm waiting for her to snap and try to like force choke not Vader, but the other Inquisitor, like choke him back.
I don't even think she's stronger than that Inquisitor. That's what it made it look like, and it also made it. It was very weird because she didn't react when he used the Force on her. So it's like, well, he doesn't outrank you, I don't think. So I'm
Yeah,
like,
it's
I was
just-
very confused
It's
on
not very
like,
clear.
the
the
dynamic.
ranking.
Yeah, the dynamic between the two of them. So I'm like, I don't, because she listened to him and then talk shit, and I'm like,
I'm like,
very
fight back, fight back. Like,
You know,
where's your power at?
He
Fight
was
his
so
ass back.
butthurt when she's like, "But she didn't. But the place was gonna blow up. Like, just kill her."
He wanted her dead. He wanted her
It's
dead.
like,
Oh, it also
Like,
seemed
please.
like they quietly confirmed that, like, for the people who don't realize, who's been complaining that the Grand Inquisitor isn't dead, because they still reference him, and it wasn't in a past tense.
But
like
they
that-
referenced it from somebody that didn't know. I forgot who said it.
Well, no, she was saying that she had I forgot her name, the spy. She came in and said she had information for the Grand Inquisitor, and
But she wouldn't know he's dead, right?
but they accepted it, like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Well,
mhm.
yes. Also, because there's a very good chance that if you're Palpatine and Vader, you don't want everyone to know if he
The
was
business.
dead.
But
Then it could
I'm
be
assuming-
a vacuum.
I'm assuming at that, because they were at the Inquisitors.
No, and I'm
essentially.
saying I believe that there are things that certain people need to know, and that guy whose job is just to guard the gate, he does not need to know whether or not the Grand Inquisitor is alive or dead. You know what I'm saying?
Do
I
you
feel
want
like
them
you
to know
would,
that?
because I feel like if he's guarding that gate, because then that's a quick, easy way to root out a spy. You coming in saying that you want to go see somebody who I know is dead. What?
Mhm.
That's the easiest way.
That's
The only
true.
reason I look at it from the way I am is we all work in the workforce, and there's a lot of shit that your manager knows that you will just never fucking know.
That's also fair.
So it's like, you know
I
what I'm
thought
saying?
that's like
I
the
believe that
top
there are just
level.
levels. Yeah, there are
Yeah.
levels to it.
They
And
ain't
again,
gonna
it's just
go around
something.
announcing that.
He
Again,
doesn't
it's
get those
information you
emails,
don't
dude.
want to
That's
get out.
all.
But
Yeah.
I also feel like like you said, we were also in the workplace. I also feel like a secretary, which is essentially what he was, knows who is supposed to be able to be met with.
Fair?
Yeah, you would. That's the right protocol there. But she did outrank him, and he was like, "I ain't questioning it." So,
That's
like,
also he could
Like,
have
you
he
know
very
what?
well
Fuck it.
he could have very well that could have also been the case.
because he
I
wasn't
took it
going
as
to let her up. He's like, "You're not. It doesn't make sense you even be here." It's like,
Right.
Or do you blah 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 blah?
yeah, true. I just took it as like, all right, maybe this was a way that they wanted to just get people to shut up.
Like,
Might have been.
Those-
They
I
might
did
have
think
shot
that-
it overnight. Like, let me put this dialogue in here so they can shut the fuck up.
Right.
Like, go ahead, Trevon. What were you saying?
I don't know. I just this episode was a very much suspend your belief quite a bit throughout this
For
episode.
a
Yeah.
lot.
I was like, so y'all walking through this place? Yeah, okay. And the spy gets away. I just knew she was dead. I thought, oh, you going, girl.
I definitely
it's
thought she
done.
was dead. Oh,
I was
I
just
thought it
done
was-
for you.
I thought it was over for
I
her.
thought it was
Like-
over.
All I'm saying is this. For a show that has Vader in its peak and Inquisitors, I am not seeing nearly as much death as I expected to see
He calmed
heading
down
into
in
this
what,
series.
10 years, right? That's 10 years after, right? Is it?
I also
Yeah.
believe he will pop back up. Maybe.
So maybe he calmed down in 10 years.
Wait, maybe who calms down in 10 years? I'm sorry, I was
Vader.
reading
I
this.
said maybe Vader calmed down in 10 years.
But
They've
shit,
been
he
looking-
seemed calm as hell now.
I'm saying
That's
right
what I'm saying,
now.
in those 10
Isn't
in
it
those 10
10
years,
Oh,
episode-
got you.
Yeah.
But I
So-
mean, it's not the first time that somebody got into the Inquisitor. Like, I hate saying that name because I just never can say it
Inquisitor?
correctly. No, the
Inquisitor.
Fortress Inquisitorius.
Yes, Inquisitor.
Yeah.
I hate it because I never can say it
I
right.
do like that place. That's the same
but I
place
mean,
that was in
Jedi
the
Fallen
game,
Order.
right?
Yeah, Jedi Fallen
Yeah,
Order.
that's
They
the
got
same
in the
game.
exact same.
Like I
way.
remember swimming through that water.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
it's not the first time it's happened. It's
Yeah, but that place was abandoned at that point, no?
no, because that was before this.
Yeah, you're right. But you know what? Why did it feel that way?
No, that was after this, wasn't it?
No.
I can't. No, it was before. It's 5 years. It was 5 years.
It's before, yes.
So yeah,
Because remember, the sequel takes place right now.
right now that's what was throwing me off.
But
Yeah.
like, why did that face feel so abandoned?
Well, no, because there could be parts of it. Because look, there were parts of it here that it seemed like there's not a lot of security.
Yeah.
here. Like,
It's just those security turrets.
yeah, it's just like doesn't seem to be many of you here. Why?
I do like that it looks so similar to I don't remember it from the game. It's just I swear it was like the part when we went into that, it was kind of empty. Like,
Look, Vader had to put out a memo after this episode, just like, hey, Cal
But this
Kestis now Kenobi. Y'all gotta
Right.
where's security?
Like,
Fuck,
bro,
what
this
are y'all
is
doing?
2 times. What we
It's
doing?
twice.
Yeah, look,
But then
obviously
again-
the designers they have holes.
They
Yeah.
didn't learn because we saw it twice with the Death Star. They
That's
don't
right.
learn.
100%.
That's right.
100%.
I saw somebody
100%.
tweeting like, "Oh my god, I can't believe somebody got in twice." It's like the Empire. We know the Empire doesn't learn from their mistakes.
To be fair, though, at some point, Palpatine did just say, "Hey, I ain't got all this money. Y'all motherfuckers, all right? There's gonna be some shit that might be, hey, cut corners." And they were just like, "All right, right there, right in the middle.
Well,
I'm gonna cut that
well, you
corner
just-
right there."
The truth is, you can't trust the architects.
Not at all. Not at
That's-
all. We learned that. The architects fuck up big time. They're just like, "Hey, what about
There's
this hole that it looks
There's
like if I
holes
shoot
everywhere.
this right, I can hit it?" And he's just like, "Oh no, I did that on purpose." It's like, what the fuck? Yeah. Fuck you guys.
Someone is crazy enough to swim down there. They can get in.
I do want to point out something that listener Jim said that's important to essentially not debunk, but like just make clear of. He was asking, was Riva a created character or is she in the books? My question is, could she have a Mace Windu connection? I will say again.
Oh, somebody else asked me that.
Yes, I will say again, if you connect her to Mace Windu, that is you confirming that
There's, like,
Star
3
Wars universe has like 5 black
Yeah,
people.
black people. Yeah.
And it's like you probably shouldn't do that at all. So no, she's not in the book. She's a completely new character. It's why people hate her as much as they do.
Yeah, that's why there's
It's
a lot of
because-
bullshit because she's
right.
black
My
and
cousin
not
asked
related
me
to
that
Mace
too.
Windu.
He was like, my cousin, he was like, "Do you think that she could be related to Mace Windu?" I was like, "I hope not."
I remember when those were the questions for Finn, and
Yep.
I'm just
Yeah.
like, y'all know that there had to have been just more black people, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I
mean,
mean,
other
if you
black
compare it to the older stuff, maybe not. You know, maybe we
Well,
felt we had to
other
connect it.
stuff.
The other movies and stuff. I mean, there weren't many of them in there. You know, kind of gotta connect it.
well,
We gotta
that's
connect
my
it
problem.
as best as we can.
But here's also what I
That's
think a lot of
leaning
people.
into
Here's also what I think a lot of people get confused is because your child's force sensitive does not mean either one of your parents are. So I'm like, Finn being force sensitive does not mean his mom or his dad was. So if you come and you pluck him out and take him away from his parents, because a lot of people are going, because I don't see the parents, I assume because I saw someone that was black and was a Jedi, it's connected, right? No. So I hope that Riva's connection is not Mace Windu. I really hope they're just more creative than that. That's all I hope.
Yeah, don't be lazy.
Don't be lazy. Do not be lazy. Do not be lazy. We saw that last trilogy get really fucking lazy. Where it's just like, all right, there's just too much connection here. Like, dial it back some.
I wonder how much of the character of the third sister that they ended up using for Riva.
Say it again.
Because the third sister as a character, like the actual third sister was referenced before, but obviously Riva as the third sister was created for the series.
Right.
So I wonder how much of the character of the third sister first off, did they give her any characterization?
Probably.
Or is it just, hey, there's an Inquisitor named the third sister out there?
That's pretty much probably what it was.
That's what I'm assuming, but I'm like, if not, I wonder how much of that characterization did they bring in if it isn't,
If there was any.
if there was some, yeah.
And also, as I pass it to you, Joel, I think the biggest problem that I have is just growing up being a massive Vader fan. Just one thing about Vader, it's just two very important things about Vader when it comes to this series. Is A, Vader does not delegate, right? So it's like if Vader feels as though he could get Kenobi, it's something he would want to lead the charge of. And 2, Vader is the most unforgiving motherfucker. I think we take for granted the fact that this grudge he has with Kenobi is over 10 fucking years that he's held on to this grudge. So I'm like, he's not the most forgiving guy for you to go, no, I let him go. Oh, okay. All right, cool. Why don't you just fucking say that? I wouldn't force choked you. All right, okay. What's
He
your
at
plan?
least has a reason. I mean, the guy has to sleep in a bathroom tank now forever because of the guy.
Him being in that back to tank is no different than what they did in the comics, and Vader still very much wanted to be the leader of everything when it came to hunting Jedi. Vader didn't like the idea of Inquisitors taking what he thought was his job.
Yeah, but he's not in charge. So he's like,
but that's my point. It doesn't seem. It seems like he's okay with it.
Right, because the reason he didn't like, and while knowing that he didn't like them, any chance he could to take them out and humiliate them, he took it.
He was taking. Vader just did.
He also
did not
had to
like
train,
the idea.
He was forced to train them too. So it's like one of those things where it's like, you gotta do what you gotta do, you know?
Yes, but a chance to take out Kenobi, that's all I'm saying. So if this story, Joel, was about Quinlan Vos, I'd give it to you. Being about Kenobi, he should be a lot more hands-on than it appears he is. All I'm saying is they're just giving Riva a lot of what Vader should be doing, is what I'm saying. And that's my issue. That's my issue with it. Because right now, because I don't have any information on Riva, I'm watching this series and all I keep thinking to myself is, why is her role not just being given to the Grand Inquisitor? Like, why is this Riva's? No.
Killed him.
She initiates this plan before that. I'm saying you essentially moved him out of the way to give her the spotlight. And I'm like, until you explain it, it just seems like you just did it just to do it.
Yeah, no, there's obviously a reason, but
I can't wait to see what the fuck that is.
Well, I don't think they're gonna ignore that because that would be.
You can, there's no way you can. It would be.
Yeah, you can't ignore that.
It would be bad to do.
I believe right now we're in a position to where we think a lot of where they have us at in this moment, not totality. In this moment is very.
Yeah,
maybe shouldn't have done a lot of things.
I can't jump to conclusions until I see how it ends. But that's definitely something you can't just ignore because you basically gave her a front seat for nothing if you don't explain it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just to create a new character. And I'm like, Riva could be a character. I'm just saying she doesn't need to be as important as she is. Is my only issue.
I think she's important for a reason. We'll see. Because obviously she has a vendetta against Kenobi, and that's the big thing about it. Because there's a personal... She's going out of her way to put herself in that position. You know what I mean? Right. So now it's just figuring out what the fuck that is. And we'll hopefully see it within the next 2 episodes. Or they do the nice thing and say, hey, this is season 2. We have more time to tell the story. We'll go from there. But hopefully. And look, we've heard rumors that that's the case. That we're going to season 2, and she's going to be coming back. So, like, we'll see. We'll see. Yep. But overall, I mean, I've enjoyed the series thus far. This episode probably was the most like lame in terms of like there wasn't a lot of because I guess there was another thing. There was a lot of expectations going into this episode, and I think it didn't live up to any of those expectations. But that did not mean that I didn't enjoy what I watched, and I think that's what the problem was. That I expected it better from the get. What I got was good, but I'm nowhere near as good as I expected, and that's why I was like, "Fuck this episode." But
I fell into that trap of what I was saying during the Black Adam trailer review. I had expectations going into this episode, and while I don't think that it was necessarily off or anything. It was I had expectations, and when they weren't met, I couldn't appreciate what I got.
Right. And you probably won't appreciate this episode until the next 2 episodes are done.
Right.
But,
I think for me, my issue was I accepted not getting the flashbacks as long as I get the flashbacks at some point. Because that was my only expectation. It was just the flashbacks.
Yeah,
to me, there were just too many negatives that outweighed the really cool shit that I did get. So it wasn't even for me personally. It wasn't that it didn't meet my expectations. Because to me, you not meeting my expectations, I can't fully say until I get to the finale. And it's like, well, you didn't do the Clone Wars flashback at all. The fuck? Why did you bring Hayden back? So to me, I'm still waiting to get there. But my issues with this episode were all the glaring problems I had. That just, the good shit just didn't outweigh it. And I tried. I watched it 4 times. And I'm just like, maybe there's just something I'm missing that will just make me go, well, I didn't see that last time. I really like that. And it's like, they just didn't have it. So to me, it just was a weak episode. It was a weak episode.
It was a weak episode, but it was important to the story. So that's why I don't want to call it a fucking filler, because it's not a filler. You can't skip it because you'll miss a big part of the chunk of the story if you skip this episode. But the problem was it wasn't entertaining enough. It didn't live up to the expectations I had for it, and that's because I did expect we probably get some type of flashback. Hopefully, 1 or 2, nothing. There's not enough emotional weight in the series for these two iconic characters. That's the problem. It ended so well with episode 3 to go into this and it kind of lull you to sleep.
Again, to the point Joe's making, the reason why you don't have enough emotional weight is because you have a fucking buffer in between the only reasons we are here. We are here for Kenobi and Vader, and you're putting this other character right in the middle, and I still don't understand why. So it's like I can't just get the straight line between the two of them.
I don't think it's necessarily the buffer. It's the why is she there. Like if we knew why she was acting as the buffer, if we had more reasoning, then I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be as unforgivable.
I don't think it's unforgivable now. It's just to me, it's just the idea of I'm here for Vader and Kenobi. Regardless of how important her character is or what the story is of her character, it's still in the way of the only fucking reason I'm here, which is Kenobi and Vader. I just expected more Vader, and instead of Vader, I'm getting Riva. So regardless of how important she turns out to be, I still wanted more Vader.
But it's tough then because then you do keep crapping on the aspect of how often did they really see each other during this time jump?
No. I don't mean Vader interacting with Kenobi. I just mean just seeing more Vader do whatever.
Oh, okay, no, that's
whatever.
Fair. Yeah, no, then
I don't need
fair.
them. Yeah, I don't need them constantly bumping heads. I just need more from Vader. Because everything you've given me of Vader, fucking beautiful.
Unless they're saving that for a Vader spinoff. And listen, if that's the end goal, I'll take it.
Look, I'll say this. We have turned into what's coming out later this year. We have turned into What If for this fucking episode. And that just stresses the fuck out of me. Because it just keeps going, well, if they, I need to know that they're doing it, and I'll accept all of this.
But I also think listener Jim is right. It is,
right.
a lot of this is slow just because compared to the previous ones.
Yeah.
And every series has that. Every series has that episode that is slow.
We can't have another time jump because another time jump is A New Hope.
But I think that's what he's saying. Like he hopes that it's not just gonna be go straight to like, all right, this is it.
Well, I mean, how far is the time jump we're talking about?
If they do another time jump, it can.
There's
only
9 years
5
before
years
New Hope.
Max. 5 years max. You should go. You shouldn't go any further.
Because right now you're at 9 years before New Hope. So
because I'm like, at some point you do have to respect the fact that George set this character up to never fucking leave. So it's like, if you're telling me between now and the 9 years, he just spent numerous time on and off planet. It's like, all right, you don't have to wash away that much of it.
Yeah, you can't do that. Yeah, this being a one-off is fine. And look, to me, I think one of my favorite parts about this episode is like him kind of relearning the Force almost. Because like you saw he was playing with
pose.
Yeah,
he even struck his pose.
He was on his mind. He was like, fine. He's getting it back into.
He definitely forgot for a second that he was escorting.
He definitely did. He was like,
he was ready. Like, all right. Oh shit.
Obi got his groove back. It was nice. But that's one of the best things about the episode was like he was finally finding his flow again. Like he was out of the game for so long. He was struggling moving that block with the Force. He's like, oh god, it's been too long. But once he started getting shot at, things changed real quick, man.
Yeah.
So
his fight or flight kicked in. That's what
right. That was definitely adrenaline.
Yeah,
like, oh shit, I could die.
I can still do this shit though. That was dope. Anything with him with the lightsaber in this episode was cool. The whole stealth scene with the lights turning off, that was cool. Anytime he was doing work, it was cool. Yes, it was fucking weird with her. They were trying to hide Leia in the jacket. I agree with everyone.
Shout out to Joe for the super chat. We appreciate it,
Joe.
We appreciate it, Joe. What's your question?
What question
you got? What question do you got? You can keep going, Joel, till the question pops up.
I'm trying to.
I don't want to stop you mid.
My thing was basically, no, I agreed with everyone. Like it was silly, like her like hiding in the jacket. Now, don't get me wrong. Everybody was definitely distracted because they were running around like chickens. Like not everyone was gonna notice, but at some point, so if you look and you see like 4 legs and this one, you're gonna what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I'm just saying in an entire facility, if you're telling me 30 people didn't notice, I buy it. If you're telling me no one there noticed, that's where my problem comes from. That's
Fair.
what,
You know what
one
the problem
person
is,
didn't look
too?
over and just go.
You know what the
That's
problem
weird.
is too, when you have a lot of people like that. Even you see it at a convention, like if no one is reacting to it, they're like, "Oh, that's not a big deal."
Well, I tell you this: if I saw someone walking that close to each other and it looked to be more legs than there should be,
Yeah,
to
like,
me, I'm not waiting for someone to freak
But
out. I'm
it-
like, hey,
It is
what
also
is that?
a world with
yeah,
aliens.
you got aliens.
So maybe
Yeah.
they look like, damn, that
Maybe.
his legs was weird.
I mean, but look, I'll even give you a perfect example, Didge. So
Six-leggers.
the last time me and Joel went to New York Comic Con, for anyone that knows who this person is, we saw CM Punk, right? But he was just casually walking with everybody that we just looked at each other and was like, "I fucking CM Punk." Like it at least we didn't overly react, but it at least stood out to us enough to go, "Hey, did you fucking see that?"
That happened at C2E2. It was it happened at C2E2. You see somebody walking like, hey, nobody cares. Like, all right,
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
If Ben turned off the Force to not get found, and Luke could never be found, why, with Jedi hunters going around, would he think it would be a good idea to
Perfect
train
answer for you.
Luke? That's a good question.
Perfect answer for you. And the answer is the exact same answer we just gave Trevon. If Obi-Wan wasn't there on Tatooine, right, and Luke is there with Uncle Owen, and this motherfucker just starts exuding the Force,
That's
it's
true.
a beacon. Everyone knows where to come find him. So
That's
Obi-Wan's
true.
saying
Yeah.
what I want to train
That's
him
true.
in
Good point.
is that he could control it. So
I
he's
ain't not to
not just
get
going.
caught.
Yeah, he's not
Yeah.
going out to the local market force pushing tomatoes and
Yeah,
shit.
you can't
Like,
start
yeah.
like, exposing yourself.
Right, because if you're
You'll
Uncle
know better.
Owen and Luke is just using the Force, you can't tell this motherfucker to turn it off. He don't know how he turned it on.
right.
You know what I'm saying? So that's what he meant by train. He didn't mean I want to train him to be a Jedi.
A Jedi Knight.
I just want to train him in how he can understand the Force so that he doesn't get himself in trouble. You know, in unknowing trouble.
Yeah,
so
you remember now too. So he's like, "Fuck, I'm too out of practice."
Right. So that's why Obi-Wan was less concerned in showing him how to necessarily use a lightsaber and just more concerned in showing him how to
makes sense.
control the Force.
I like that answer.
So he wasn't sending a beacon to every. Because
To-
picture if Luke, right at the moment Riva and the Inquisitor showed up, Luke was just like, "Ooh, I can float things." Riva would have went up, know exactly where he is.
Or he got scared and did something by mistake. Just,
Right. Yeah.
No.
Right. So that's what Obi-Wan meant more so by training him. Like I just want to. It's like if your dad teaches you how to fight. Your dad's not teaching you how to kill a motherfucker. He's just teaching you how to. If you ever need to protect yourself, here's how you do it.
So what you do is you stab him in the fucking heart.
Right? Yeah. Your dad's not like, all right, now that I taught you how to fight, go to school and fuck everybody up. It's just a way to defend
So I want
yourself.
3 fights this week.
Right. I want 3 successful wins.
Come back with
Or you
locks of
don't
their
come
hair
home.
and shit.
Or you don't come home.
Start wearing them like a necklace.
So Obi-Wan just wanted to teach him how to more so control it, not necessarily to use it, just to control it. So if need be, shut the shit off. Shut it off.
Answer.
You know?
Good answer.
But I am very excited for next week's episode. I still have faith in this show being everything that it can be.
Oh, for sure.
I just, unfortunately, I went down a rabbit hole of this writer's interviews. And when I tell you this motherfucker just did not seem like he knew what he was talking about, it was really disheartening. It was just like, a lot of shit starts to make sense the more he talks. It's just like, I understood why you wrote it like that. You just didn't know.
Well, like I said, this is literally the first time I was like, shit, is this going to stick the landing?
Yeah. And like I said, I think I got really spoiled by when we had Fandom and you were just hearing Matt Reeves gush about his love for Batman. And that's just what I always want from somebody taking a character that big, right?
Well,
when you're
what's
taking
wild-
a character that big, I want to know that the people doing it are
Love
as
it that
invested
much.
in Kenobi as we are, right? So where they're like, no, there's no way I would even have Vader say this because I knew he wouldn't say that, right? So to me, it's just the idea of the authenticity of the character matters. You know what I'm saying? And whenever you hear that guy talk, you're just like, ooh, I understand why we got this episode. I get it.
I mean,
I really get it.
I still, like I said, overall enjoy the series as well. I love it. I still think it's great.
Mhm.
It is just that question of, I really hope that we don't go down that slope of you missed that landing because
Well,
I would be more hurt.
We're gonna get that penultimate episode. So now you gotta go hard next week.
Right. Now, next episode
And-
is going to be that linchpin.
Remember, here's the biggest thing. Here's the biggest hurdle they have to jump. we have said since the day it was announced, why? And that has still not been answered till we get to the final episode of why. Why did you think it was necessary to do this series? And I still don't feel as though that answer has been fulfilled. So that's what I'm waiting for more than anything, is that can you deliver it so well that I'm like, fuck the questions of why. Now the question is, can we get more? You know what I'm saying? If you leave me by the end of this series of asking for more, you've done your job. No issues here. No issues whatsoever. And they're not there yet. So I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting to see how they get there. Because again, this is a big moment for Kenobi. Because what you're changing now is, we saw what happened before Kenobi died in A New Hope. So my thing is now, wait, let's see. But see, that's my issue with this generation of Star Wars writers. Why are they choosing to employ people who know nothing of the lore or knowledge of the characters? Well, here's the problem with Hollywood. They want to employ good writers, right? So it's like, he's not a bad writer because he doesn't know how to properly convey a Kenobi story. He could be a phenomenal writer, just not a really good Kenobi writer.
But if he's not well informed, why would you hire him? That's the question, right? So it's
because sometimes a lot of people might be coming hot off of a project. They might seem like, oh, it's a really good name to get, or it might be a really cheap name to get. But my problem more so is, I have a bigger issue with Deborah than I do necessarily the writer. Because as Deborah, you are conveying what is on the paper that he wrote. And you
usually when they have a writer like that,
Yeah,
and then usually when they have a writer like that who may not necessarily know, they're supposed to be able to bring in somebody who is that expert, who you go, okay, I can tell a really great story, but I may not know the lore. Mm-hmm. And that's where, you know, I say I'm writing this and I bring in Juwaan, like, all right, so this is the story I got. How is this going to fit in with the lore? And that's when we go back to the rewrites and everything. And
I think this speaks more to Deborah not being any more of a fan than that guy is, because when it came across you should have looked at that shit and said, nah.
Yeah, no, that's true.
No, you can't do that. You can't do any of that. You gotta flip this. Because he was saying in his interview, there is a guy that he kept going to asking him, like, hey, like, does this work? And the guy kept saying, yeah, that works.
That's the guy who we really should be upset with.
I'm like, who the fuck is that? I'm like, was his name George Lucas? No. Was his name Dave Filoni? No. Was his name Jon Favreau? No. I don't know who the fuck you went to.
That's the guy definitely who we should be upset with then, because then that means that's the guy who said, yes, this fits, when clearly it doesn't.
Yeah, to me, I kind of feel like if you're okaying a project that's unnecessary, like a Black Adam, like an Obi-Wan Kenobi, it needs to be done by people that love the character. Because again, it just screams the question of why. But I'll accept why if it's good. And it's been good.
Yeah, it's been good.
But so for you to do a Kenobi series, that shit needs to be great. And I'm waiting to see how it ends on whether or not it can live up to that. But to me, this character is way too important to Star Wars for you to slightly do a good series. Or the series was good. You're using Kenobi, this shit better be great. Because there was just no need for you to do this series at all. You know what I'm saying? We just saw Filoni and Favreau dig up Boba and create Din Djarin. They clearly were in the mindset of, let's reinvent the wheel with characters that people either haven't seen for fucking forever, or that's just a completely new character. And look at now how popular Din Djarin and Grogu are. They're now a staple in Star Wars history. And you thought you'd rewrite something that's already the most important staple in Star Wars history? Because I'm like, at this point, you could have just made a Riva show. You know what I'm saying?
You could have just did an Inquisitor show.
You could have just did an Inquisitor show. And it could have been the idea of like, oh, you get to episode 4. Shit, they're hunting Kenobi? Like, oh, shit. Like, oh, okay. Now Vader's involved. You could have done it that way. But you do it this way, you're retconning a lot.
If this exact story would have happened, you could have had them hunting, or they bring a senator's daughter, but it wasn't based on Kenobi.
Right.
Story would have been 10
times better. It was based on, because to me, here's where you could have done it. You could have said that Bail Organa was not accepting the terms that the Empire was giving. So they were essentially rebelling from the Empire, and they wanted to make a statement. So they kidnapped Leia to gain leverage for him to accept whatever the treaty was.
And then
or
if
whatever
it shows up within episode 3 or 4, and it's like, oh shit,
and
he called him
Kenobi shows
Kenobi?
up out of nowhere, yeah, that would have been like,
That would-
okay.
Then that's a way more interesting story than, like you said, we already knew Kenobi was supposed to stay on Tatooine.
Right.
Now, the fan and all of us was like, well, fuck it, we're getting more Kenobi. I'm here for it.
Fuck it.
Fuck it. Like, and I'm very much the first 3 episodes for sure. You're like, nigga, this is what we're getting?
Yeah, like,
Yes.
okay,
Yes.
I'll take it.
And then
now you hit this speed bump.
you hit this one, you're like, you go back to that initial thought of, wait, why are we getting this again?
Yeah, why are we here? All right. So again, I'm willing to give Deborah the benefit of the doubt. Like I said, I defended Robert Rodriguez. He wanted to make Boba Fett into that. You made Boba Fett into that. Now you face the consequences of maybe you didn't make the best of decisions when it came to that, right? So now I'm like,
that show.
I don't have any deep issues with that show at all.
Yeah, I like the Book of Boba
I really
Fett.
don't.
I really
But here's the biggest reason why. To me, Boba was gone for so long, right? So a lot of his story has just never been told. With Kenobi, we saw beginning, middle, and end.
Mm-hmm.
So now you're just fucking with the story we already know. With Boba, you could switch, flop, flip, whatever the fuck you want to do, because there's just so much of his life we hadn't seen. You know what I'm saying?
The Book of Boba Fett, I liked it, but I also, because I didn't care about Boba Fett's character like that before it. So when he came back, I was like, okay, this would be cool. I know a lot of people, they have a deep love for Boba Fett, so they didn't like it. But before it, I'm like, I really don't care about Boba Fett.
Word.
Yeah. What also didn't help the Book of Boba show is that you're essentially, and what was the point we were saying about you don't want to confuse people about Doctor Strange in
Dr. Fate.
Dr. Fate. You just gave us Mandalorian
Yeah.
season 2, and now for a new audience, you're giving them Boba Fett. So for them, they're just like, well, essentially, don't they do the same shit? Like, why wasn't one just enough?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's
so
fair.
to me, it was just like you had a long mountain to climb on the justification of even bringing him back. Shout out to Joe for another super chat. Robert Rodriguez was the consultant for this show. I believe it. I believe there were a lot of consultants for this show that should not have been consultants of this show. I really do truly believe George Lucas should be somewhere involved in a lot of shit that goes down that has to do with the old. You want to do new? You don't need to consult him for shit. You want to do old? He should be somewhere in that room to where he can go, yeah, no, that shouldn't be that. That's horrible. But again, we got 2 more weeks to see how it plays out. I'm very excited to see what they do. I am very disappointed that O'Shea Jackson's character was so irrelevant. I fucking forgot that his character was in the show. So he showed up again at the end of the episode. And I was just like, oh, yeah. Oh, okay, yeah, I did just see it like 20 minutes.
Did we meet Wade, by the way?
Who?
We may have seen him.
No.
The way they thought about
Wade was supposed to be important to them because he was a friend. He
Yeah.
wasn't supposed to be important to us as the viewers. We were supposed to just feel their pain if they just lost a friend. But it wasn't supposed to be like, Wade is like this character everyone should know, because no. So
Yeah,
Wade
we
was
weren't
only
supposed to come out
important
like,
to
man,
them.
not Wade. Like,
Because I was thinking, I was like, what did he even look like? Like I was like,
Yeah,
I don't
I
remember.
definitely, when Wade died, that's why I watched it a few more times, because I'm like, I'm not catching where I was supposed to give a fuck about Wade.
well, I,
Like,
think, I think it was literally, like you said, I think it was literally just to show, like, you know,
somebody died.
Somebody died, and
Yeah.
somebody means something to somebody.
Right, yeah.
And no, they needed to sacrifice somebody. They just didn't want to do anybody important. That's all.
That too.
So you did it with the most irrelevant motherfucker you could find.
Literally. It was so
God bless
stupid
you.
between the girl and the guy. Neither of them, no one gave a fuck about either of them. So
Right,
you
and,
can tell them.
By the way, we couldn't remember it. Her name is Tala.
Ah, yes.
Tala. But yeah, look, Deborah. Look, God bless you, man. This is a massive name. And if you stick the landing, you'll be a legend forever. You fuck this up, God bless you for anything Star Wars you do going forward.
And that's the thing.
or anything else.
It could literally, she could
Anything
stick
else.
the landing, and this entire conversation to be like, all right, we forgot about it. Like,
100%. That's what I'm saying. You'll be a legend. I will be the first person looking to put Deborah Chow's name on anything Star Wars going forward. But if you fuck this up,
Yeah.
Let me find out Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau gave you another fucking project to work on. I think fucking not. I think not. I think unless Dave Filoni is yelling action or cut, I ain't interested. That's where she'll put me. Kenobi is just too important to me for me to just accept it, right? And then there are some people that are like, well, if you don't like it, just forget it exists. No, that's not a thing.
Yeah,
that's not a thing. You know what I'm saying? No one sits here and is just like, no. When we go through the MCU, we just take out Thor: Dark World and Iron Man 3. You can't. It exists, regardless if you like it or not.
Is that your stance now? You're not skipping anymore?
Huh?
You're not skipping anymore then?
Oh no, I skip it all the time. But I'm saying I don't tell people that it doesn't exist. I tell people it exists.
I don't have to rewatch it.
I just don't have to rewatch it. I've seen it before.
Saying, like, you can't.
I've seen it before. I'm just saying I don't try to wash it away from the history of the MCU. So if someone was starting it from scratch, I wouldn't tell them to skip them.
Don't skip it, but you don't have to watch it. And I think that's what they're trying to tell you. If you don't like it, just don't watch it again. So.
Oh, and 100% I won't. That's what I'm saying. I agree with that sentiment. I'm saying there are people that are like, just forget that it exists. No, you can't do that. It's now canon.
Now, it is canon, but like, is it that important to the canon that you can just forget about it?
Well, yes, because you're retconning a whole bunch of shit we never knew that happened before.
But but it's important. We know what happens in the future. We know what happens in the past. The middle right now, unless something changes drastically.
That's what I have to wait and see. That's what I'm saying. Because right now, if this ends with them wiping Leia's memory, we're good. We're good. If Leia's memory doesn't get wiped, it makes it very confusing to where she vaguely knew who Kenobi was in A New Hope. She vaguely knew who the motherfucker was. It wasn't
vaguely. It's just that she never acknowledged it. Like, I know him. It's like more, my dad knew him.
Right. And you don't take that as confusing? Why wouldn't you establish
that? That is weird.
Like, that's what I'm saying.
Weird.
So I'm like,
but that's already been retconned, in my opinion. That's fucked. You're not fixing it.
Yeah, I mean,
So that's why I'm saying the more you.
They're not erasing her memory. So I say you should start getting over that right now.
To me, you can just wipe. You can just wipe what they went through. Her father can tell her about Kenobi between now and when she gets kidnapped again when she gets older. So those could just be stories. So I'm like, to me, I would much rather that, to where she doesn't remember all of this. And it's just more war stories going forward.
I think you can have it so she doesn't necessarily have to be her memory wiped, because like we had said initially, we realized that she understands the name Ben Kenobi means that shit gets done. Because granted, we're basing all of that off of one scene where when she hears his name, she perks up. But it's like we know that she knows that Ben Kenobi means shit's gonna get done. We know that she felt comfortable enough to say, "You are still my only hope," even though it's because you worked with my father. But you can infer that maybe there were some other reasons behind it. So like they're kind of working it in. And then another way you can just say it's childhood trauma. A lot of times shit happens in your childhood that's traumatic.
Yeah. As long as she forgets about it, I don't give a fuck how she forgets about it. Hocus Pocus, Men in Black, I don't give a fuck. I'm just saying it shouldn't all be there. It shouldn't all be there.
That's why I said it can be a situation of she knows the name Ben Kenobi gets something done, but she doesn't remember all of it. Because
I'm fine with that. That's the way that you still protect it.
Yeah,
where you don't apologize.
I'm not expecting that to happen, so I'm already right.
I mean, I don't think it's gonna be addressed. I really don't. I think you're gonna.
I don't either. That's why
I think it's gonna have to be one of those.
You might as well stop watching it right now. If you don't like it.
No. I'm willing to just see how it shakes out. You never know. I'm willing to just see how it shakes out. That's what happens with other people's interpretation of characters and new stories. You have to have Lucas sprinkled in. I agree, but I feel that way with even when you're adapting.
But Lucas did it to himself so many times.
Yeah, I was gonna say this is a problem of Star Wars in general.
he stepped on his own toes a lot of the time.
It's a problem of starting with 4, 5, 6 and going back to do 1, 2, 3, and then having such a huge time jump, and then saying like it's a problem of this non-linear storytelling model. Yeah.
And look, they fuck up even when it's linear, because the MCU, as good as they've been, they fuck up once in a while.
Yeah, but I also believe that's because Feige, just like Star Wars, they're just purposely choosing to go away from what we know it should be to make it to what they want it to be. which I always say, to me, as long as
This
to me
perfect. Yes, he has a plot hole himself.
What I'm saying is that to me, when you're taking characters that he created himself, to me, he should be someone that you're at least listening to. Has he been perfect? No, but fuck it, we can say the same about Feige. That motherfucker's fucking up timelines left and right all the time.
But that's what I'm saying, though.
No, but I'm saying, to me, if in 5 or 10 years Feige can't do as much as he's been doing over these 15, 20 years, I would still even say then, regardless of the mistakes he made, still sprinkle that motherfucker in. The recipe works.
I don't think the consultant George Lucas would have fixed that. You know, that's my thing.
To me, if they chose to listen to it or not,
lay it out of it. That's all you could do.
No, if they chose to listen to it or not, it's different. But he definitely would have helped them structure it a lot more to where it's not just railroading everything we know that already exists. That's the point I'm making. He would have just found a better way to navigate through it because it's his baby. It's his story. So he would have just found a better way to navigate.
We don't know if he tried and if they tried and he just wasn't interested because I
can tell you right now, it's very few times that when either Favreau or Filoni called on him, he did not show up.
This isn't a Favreau Filoni project right now. This is Deborah Chow.
His farm.
And that's the thing.
That's what I'm saying. Like, they fucking live there. So I'm like, I believe if they had asked him, and they would have asked Favreau or Filoni to ask him, he would have said yes.
It's so weird to me. They've done it on so many other projects. They just wouldn't do it on this one.
I believe they just didn't give a fuck. Because to me, you doing this show, to me, would have been a complete spit in the face to what he did before. So to me, at that point, he just didn't give a fuck, which is cool. All right, cool. But now the burden is on you to make it make sense.
Just Your Average Joe's latest comment is also very true. This one, it's very true. You can see it by watching the original trilogy.
From 1 to 2 is different.
It's very different. So it's tough.
Right. Even in between that, he brought in new writers for his books that were canon. That changed some of the stories also.
And then even with the prequel trilogy, you
trace it back though, and that's why I appreciated Filoni doing Clone Wars. It connects a lot of those dots that we were like, this is weird. The dots were then very much connected to make a lot of it.
That's why to me it's not going to be a big deal because like there's a lot of fucking weird shit that went.
It is.
A lot of it's not canon anymore, so that's why I'm saying a lot of it doesn't matter.
No, well, I mean the movies are canon, and
that's what I'm saying. The movies are canon.
1 and 2, like you go 4 and 5, really.
You go 4 and 5, and then even when you look at how some of the characterizations in the prequel trilogy, and you were able to explain that away of it's been a time jump.
Yeah.
But it's that's why I said like this because it's a non-linear story essentially. It's just things get so fucking weird with it that you have to have a suspension of disbelief at points. Yeah. And it's not the best, but it's sort of sometimes you just got to be like, well.
So what's right weird. Now? What would you say is the biggest issue right now?
To me, Vader's characterization is
Vader's characterization
is my biggest gripe with the story right now. Yeah. Like he's still a menace, he's still pure terror, but there are points where he wouldn't have accepted that her saying, "Oh, I let them go on purpose." He wouldn't have cared.
He also wouldn't have given her a chance to even fucking say that was something she did on purpose. Yeah. Vader would have killed her just to make a statement of, I fucking gave you an order, you failed. Yeah. I don't give a fuck how you failed, why you failed. That's the example. Now who's next? And we even said, even if Vader spared her, Vader definitely would have went to a stormtrooper, cut a head off, left the room. It was definitely
a plot armor moment.
Yes, it definitely was. It definitely seems like they're nerfing Vader. Like they're showing elements of Vader that are true, and then other elements there. It's a breakdown. I'm not sorry for no spoilers.
Yeah,
I'm just saying. Well, you came in, and I don't know what you expected.
But no, I don't say they're nerfing. I think it's. Well, I guess it is a nerf. It's a situation of you got to explain why. I think it goes back to that.
Yeah, to me, I feel as though there's just been too many instances of shit Vader has let go of that he just never would have fucking let go of. Ever. Just never would have let go of it. Never. Yeah. That's why, because again, remember how they hyped this. this is the most ruthless and cutthroat Vader you've ever seen on screen. If you thought Rogue One was crazy, wait till you see this. And so far, the motherfuckers dragged someone out of a window, dragged them in dirt, and snapped one boy's neck. And you're telling me that I'm supposed to take and view better than Rogue One?
They did the same kind of hyper for Moon Knight.
Excuse me?
No, Trevon,
Yes,
you did that to yourself.
No.
You did that to yourself.
No,
because remember what you said. You were saying you
That's a very good point.
In Return of the Jedi, when Yoda is dying, he says, when I'm going the last of the Jedi, you'll be to Luke. But now we know that's not true. We just have to accept canon isn't canon. No. The difference in that is Yoda was saying that as Luke being essentially, because you're imagining the rest of the Jedi are gone. To me, that wasn't a flaw. That was just Yoda saying some of the most stupidest shit. You think Jedi won't ever be born again? Like, what the fuck was that?
Well, he was just saying that you're the last of us, basically.
Wait, say it again, Trevon?
I'm saying if they all died, I mean...
No, but that's my point. That's my point. All the Jedi didn't die. And that was made canon in books that all the Jedi didn't die.
In his knowledge. In his...
Yes, that's why I said that's not a mistake. That's not a mistake. That wasn't something that was retcon. Yeah. That was just Yoda not having all the information. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. That wasn't like a fuck up. That was just like
Yoda saying, "Look, you're the last Jedi I'm gonna see."
Yeah, I'm about to die. So you're it. You're the guy.
You are the Jedi right now.
Yeah, you're it. So
I do think more importantly though, what is canon today is not always canon tomorrow. We do have to accept that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure George Lucas wasn't thinking about Jedi being alive other than Luke at that point.
No, that's why I said it. To me, it wasn't a fuck up. It was more so like that's where he saw the Jedi going. In a lot of his books, Luke was just that guy. Yeah. But now we know just Ahsoka is fucking alive. So
that's sort of what he's saying. That's what he was saying. That we at the time we thought that it was canon at the time that we thought Luke was it. Right. But we accepted that because of what is canon now.
Yeah.
But the point I'm making is it didn't retcon anything. It just expanded. My issue is retcon.
It's not saying it's not, but that's
loopholes.
The thing. We're not talking about. We're saying two separate things. But the more important thing is we have to accept what is canon today. It may not necessarily be canon tomorrow. That's the part I'm saying.
To me, when you say that, to me, the only thing that's acceptable is expanding what's canon, not getting rid of something or steamrolling over something. Just expanding it. Because again, it wasn't just like Ahsoka just popped up randomly. We had a whole seven years of seeing her character get expanded. And here's how it did.
But that is still retconning. That is still retconning.
Popping up.
But no, time out. Here's how it's not retconning. When Clone Wars ends, right? When Clone Wars ends, Anakin just lost his arm. In Clone Wars, the animated series, Anakin had long lost his hand. His hand. So when Ahsoka shows up, that's a part in time where we don't have any information on Anakin. And then when you get to Revenge of the Sith, we already know Ahsoka had already left. So Filoni there was no plot holes. He just went around the canon that you do know.
But it is still a retroactive continuity, which
it is
because
he worked around it.
It changed.
He worked around it, but not retconned it. Is what I'm saying.
It is because you change canon retroactively. That's literally what retconning is.
Hold on, time out. But nothing else changes of Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
But it's still
Ahsoka wasn't a part of that.
But it's still the overall canon of the show.
No, what
or the show, the movie, the
way
property, whatever
he
you want to call
retcons it. She's technically not a Jedi right now. She
left.
Whatever. She left
she left.
The thing. There were other Jedi that died and survived, but that's really where you got to start questioning because some of them became Inquisitors, no longer Jedi when you become an Inquisitor.
Right.
We don't know after the fact there are Force users, but they're not Jedi. And some of those, like some of the ones, the younger ones, never became knights. Right. You know, they were just Padawans. You know what I mean?
There are still other Jedi who we don't know where they ended up, and that's the point.
I think we're getting away from what I was saying. You're saying retcon, and the only reason why that word was bothering me, just in the semblance of what we were talking about, not in totality, is when Filoni did Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the animated series. That whole 7-year run changed nothing of Attack of the Clones or Revenge of the Sith. Attack of the Clones ends before Anakin gets Ahsoka, and then Revenge of the Sith takes place in a time where Ahsoka had already left. So I'm like, it changes nothing of those two movies. That's why I say you didn't retcon it. You
But
just
you
expanded
did-
it to fill in the gaps of time we didn't get. From those
but
two
you
movies.
did because you retroactively changed what Star Wars canon is overall. That's
Yeah, but
Again,
but
you're talking-
George Lucas
go
did
ahead.
that.
and I agree. I agree. But that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying this because this all goes back to we have to accept the canon. That it all goes back to that.
And I wasn't arguing against that. I'm just saying Ahsoka specifically isn't a plot hole. It isn't retconning anything.
But it
You're just
is,
expanding on a
'cause it
timeline that
changed
you
canon.
never explored. It didn't, though. You just never explored that timeline of where she took place.
I like to look at it as an improvement.
I don't get how you don't. It did though because in George Lucas's Star Wars when he first created it, there was no Ahsoka.
No.
So as canon,
But
then
what I'm saying is the reason why you can't say it changed it is her story narratively takes place in a
but
time
if
that
she's
was
now
never
canon,
explored
that's
in the
a
movie.
retro. That's a change to canon. Creating a character.
You just didn't know about Ahsoka. That's my point. It wasn't. Now, here's where I would agree with you. If Anakin said in Revenge of the Sith, "I've never had a Padawan," and then he had a Padawan, yeah, you retconned it. There was never a mention of it. But
I
why
think
would
you're
he
taking
if
the
she
term.
had left?
I think you're trying to pigeonhole the term to something different.
No, I'm just trying to say that one specific thing, not Star Wars as a whole. That one specific thing isn't retconning because the movies take place in a time where Ahsoka either wasn't his Padawan or had left the Jedi Order completely. So why would it have explored that?
Look,
That's why I'm
Star
saying
Wars
that's your loophole. It takes
is a
place in a timeline.
multiverse. Every time
where
there's
it's
a new retcon, there's a new universe for Star Wars.
I think we're looking at the
So, you're
term.
gonna have
I
to
think
live
we're
in
looking at
one.
what actually is a retcon differently then.
I guess we are. I guess we are.
Because
I guess we are. Like I said, I just view it more so as you're just filling in blanks we didn't even know needed to be filled in.
In some
But you're
some
not-
aspects, yes.
It doesn't like when you watch Star Wars: The Clone Wars, the series, and then go back and watch the Clone Wars movie and then Revenge of the Sith. Nothing narratively changes at all, right? You've
But I
never
don't
seen
think a
Anakin
retcon
on a
has to
solo
change-
mission.
Has to change
for-
the narrative.
I
That's
believe
the
that's
thing.
the whole point of a retcon, though.
It's literally just adding something to a property retroactively. So if a storyline was told and you add something to that storyline after the fact, you retconned it.
So retcon doesn't just mean changing it. Like Star Killer is a
What it-
retcon. We were made to believe that Vader never had an apprentice. Like we were actually
Yeah.
told Vader
Well,
never had an apprentice. And then you retconned it by then. Again, it doesn't matter now because Force Unleashed is canon.
Right.
But that's a complete retcon. We were told he didn't have one. Now we're the fucking Star Killer, right? So to me, Ahsoka isn't that. She's just plugged in a timeline we never explored in the movies.
Yeah.
Because it's such a massive time jump between Attack of the Clones and Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. So she was a plug and play.
To me,
There's
the Jedi
nothing
thing,
narratively that changes.
the Jedi thing during Return of the Jedi is all not
That's
retcon.
retcon.
It's become retcon, but
Yeah,
that's also
that's retcon.
that's also finding a loophole and finding ways around.
Not even
What
just
was
Luke,
that?
because we know Ezra's still around. Well, we don't know where his story is. We know Ezra. We know
Mhm.
Cal
That's true,
Kestis.
Ezra.
But that's what I'm saying. That got retcon because Yoda made us believe it was just Luke out in this motherfucker.
Right. Yes.
And then he spent 10 years writing books where it was just Luke. It was Mira Jade sometimes. It was mainly just Luke out here. So that was retcon. Now we're just like, bitch, there's none but Jedi out here. What the fuck? like
I don't say
where
nothing.
were y'all?
I don't think you can say nothing but Jedi. Like,
what the
it's
fuck,
not,
where
it's
were
not like
y'all?
you would go to the store.
They
Oh man,
weren't
it's like
common.
3 Jedi. It's
They're
like,
not common. They were much more rare.
I definitely tell you this. When Luke was just like, all right, ain't no Jedi out here. Ahsoka, Cal Kestis, Ezra, where the
Yeah.
fuck are all y'all coming from? Where were y'all when I needed y'all? Like, what the
Right.
fuck? So that's why I'm saying that retcons, because you're talking about the rebels having 2 Jedi and none of the motherfuckers help Luke out? That's
Yeah.
retconning. That's a complete retcon.
Well, I'm saying Star Wars is full of retcon.
oh, sorry, for sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying.
Again,
Just, you know,
my
at
argument
some
was
point-
solely just Ahsoka. All right. Qui-Gon was a retcon. How was Qui-Gon a retcon?
Yeah, how's that a retcon?
Because the literal definition is adjusting canon. That's why I said I think you're.
Well, then the prequels are a retcon.
yeah, the prequels entirely were a retcon.
Yeah. That's the thing, but is it a retcon? Because it literally says episode 4, so that means there was a 1, 2, 3 at one.
At
Yeah,
the
that's
time,
what I'm saying.
when it
What
first
does
got
that-
released, they just said Star Wars.
Yeah, but
And
to
then-
me, No, they did. But my issue is, to me, all he did was fill in how Vader and the Empire became.
Because as a kid, I remember seeing Episode 4 and questioning it. I'm like,
so to me, I don't think Qui-Gon's a retcon.
That's because by the time when we were kids watching it, all the original trilogy was already out, so they had already said 4, 5, 6 then. Because I do remember that as a kid too. But my dad was telling me when the first one came out, it literally was just called Star Wars. It wasn't even called Star Wars: A New Hope. It was just Star Wars.
Oh. Well, okay.
It says in the original trilogy, Obi-Wan was trained by Yoda, according to him. Never mentioned Qui-Gon. But see, that's a gray area, because when you first come to the Jedi Temple, Yoda fucking trains everybody. So it's like, well, how long did Yoda train him before Qui-Gon came in and kind of just improved on what Yoda had already taught him? You know what I'm saying?
Qui-Gon did die, and then he became a knight. Right after
Obi-Wan, he was a knight because he had the braid. He
was a Padawan, and then he became a knight.
Yeah, he became a knight after Phantom Menace. Phantom Menace, so I'm like, Yoda could have trained them then. So I'm like, it still is a loophole.
You never stop learning, retcon. Joe. All right.
Right. It's never a complete retcon.
He taught him how to do what's it called, Force Ghost. Right? That was a Yoda thing.
It was like, hey, you want to know how to talk to the dead? But yeah,
are we sure Yoda taught him to talk to the dead? Because we haven't seen him talk to anybody
yet. That's the thing. He taught him, but he stopped practicing.
Well, he's disconnected from the Force.
Yeah, he's disconnected from the Force.
Because
here's another thing. I better see fucking Qui-Gon at the end of this fucking show.
Yeah, 100%. But that's how you know that he knew it and forgot it, because you're gonna seriously tell me Qui-Gon is just like, no, I'm not answering the phone. I'm not answering the phone. So there's no way Qui-Gon's doing that. So he's just like, I'm not fucking answering Obi-Wan today. I got other shit to do. So like I said, as long as I get the flashback, at least as long as I get the flashback, I can accept literally anything else you give me. I swear to God.
There's a lot of shit I hope like that.
I just need that. That'll make it all worth it. If I get that, and it's lengthy, don't let that shit be like, oh, I'm dreaming. Oh, now I woke up. Bitch, no, that's not long enough. Go back to sleep. Plug back into the Matrix so we can get the good shit. Plug back in. Plug the fuck back in. Let's get the good shit. Then you can go back. But no, so as long as I get that, I can accept really anything else. I really can. Like I said, when I go back to Venom 1 and 2, they really give me the bare bones. But those bare bones are good enough for me. So that's really how I view this, because it's like, again, you guys are telling me, hey, a lot of what you want probably won't happen. So, all right, well, if you do the one thing that it seems like you kind of have to do, which is the flashback, it
just makes sense.
I can kind of get over it. Because if you tell me you brought Hayden Christensen back to walk in Vader's suit and to stand there with his fucking cloak on, looking all angry, bitch, what?
Or to sit in a bacta tank all with makeup on, with the mask on his face.
Yeah, I'm like, bitch, come on now.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you need a Force Ghost and the voice, of course.
It wouldn't just be the voice. We even got that in the animated series where they were on the Force planet. And Qui-Gon's, even though it was Obi-Wan being manipulated, Qui-Gon actually showed up as a Force Ghost and talked to him.
And then Yoda did talk to him too.
During Clone Wars?
I think so, yeah.
Qui-Gon. Okay. Yeah. All right, you scared me. I thought you meant Yoda talked to Kenobi. I'm like, Joel, he was alive. Of course he did.
I was wondering why you were so confused.
I'm like, hold on now. What? Yeah.
I was definitely wondering, why are you confused about this?
I was stressing just now, what the fuck is Joel talking about? He could walk into the room with Kenobi. Of course they talk.
Yoda is sitting over there.
He's right there. Joel's like, no. He decided to FaceTime him that day. But yeah, I'm very excited. So I want to ask this one question, not to do with Kenobi. I want to leave that as open-ended as possible, right? Put no expectations on it. I do want to ask you guys this. We got the whole Star Wars celebration. Trevon, I want to start off with you. What are you looking forward to the most coming out this year? We got Andor, we got Bad Batch, we got not Visions. What was Tales of the Jedi? I think
Tales of the Jedi. Yeah,
Tales of the Jedi.
I look forward to that.
It has to be this year.
Yeah. Let's keep it to this year, because I think if we extend it to next year, we're all looking forward to Mando. We're all looking forward to a.
Oh no, mine was gonna be Acolyte.
Oh, Acolyte too.
That's a time period that Matter of fact, no, go to Trevon because I'll bring it up before I say.
Okay.
Then I'll say it.
All
this
right, go
year.
ahead. Where are you going with Trevon?
Andor. You said
Andor?
Year, so. Yeah.
Yeah, Andor makes sense to me for you to say because you're a massive Rebels fan. So I'm like, that makes sense. That makes sense. You're a really big Rebels fan, and a lot of what they're going to be doing in Andor is a lot of what you saw in Rebels. So, minus the Jedi, a lot of that shit you saw.
Fair.
You know what I'm saying? So I'm like, I can get that. I can get that connection. I got you.
Yeah.
Didge. So go ahead and pitch it.
So if we're talking this year, it is Tales of the Jedi. Just because that's the one I know the least amount about. So that's literally it. Just because I don't know much about it. But if we were talking just in general, the Acolyte, because it's set in a time period where it's so different from everything else.
Yeah,
so like
that was in the time of peace.
Yeah, and did you see the latest rumors that Riva's supposed to appear? Darth Bane is, Darth Nihilus, and Darth Malak?
Unfortunately, none of them should.
So
if they're doing it,
unless they retcon it.
I was just about to say they have to retcon it.
Well, it seems like the idea is supposed to be somebody who's like a researcher, like they're researching sort of. So I don't think it's going to be like, oh, they're running around.
You mean?
Yeah. So
now,
I think it's
if that's the case, then the narrative has changed. Because when they first announced Acolyte, it was being said that it was about a conflicted Sith. So someone who was a Sith that was debating on whether or not they wanted to still be Sith.
Which I guess
still be the same. Though,
that could still be the same thing. Like
okay.
I don't mean a researcher in like, oh, this is all they do, but it's like if
that's his job. That's his 24/7.
I'm saying if you do that, be very careful. Because what you're now saying is people get a chance to get Plagueis, Bane, and Revan. And then you're telling me that the focus is about this character I've
Malak
never
too.
fucking seen.
Malak too.
Really?
God damn.
Yeah, it had Malak and Darth Nihilus.
So to me, that's where you're treading on dangerous territory.
It's dangerous
because
if
you bring in all those interesting characters, but then tell me my focus is again a fucking character you made up. Why wouldn't you just make it about the people that we actually care about?
Well, with the rumors and the way that it was pitched, I assumed that it was somebody, like you said, it was a Sith who's sort of, like you said, they're wavering, so to speak. But with that, you're gonna sort of learn sort of the history of the Sith.
Yeah. Why is there a rule of two?
Yeah, like how did we get to wherever they are? Because I don't remember the exact year. But how do you get to that?
History lesson.
So it's like, it's sort of like you're not necessarily gonna see these characters in the flesh, like I said, walking around or anything, but you're understanding that
flashbacks is gonna hurt my heart.
What I was gonna say, like you're gonna get that, and I think it's just a way to say like these characters are canon now because I think
see that rumor.
I saw it on Twitter earlier. I'll put it in the group chat.
If that's the case, this new character better fucking hit. That's all I gotta say. Because if I keep seeing flashbacks of people I actually care about, and then I see you,
did they confirm that this is a brand new character?
Yes,
it is, and I hope it's a cool looking.
Okay,
this time
I didn't know if they confirmed that it was a brand new.
An alien, no more humans. No, I'm kidding.
No, I do want aliens, and I know a lot of people theorize that they could take Darth Maul's apprentice and use her. Obviously retcon some shit and use her.
Oh, I know what you're talking about. The red one.
Yeah, no, not using that specific character, using that race. So using that race as a character, not her specifically.
Because I was gonna say this is set during
using that race. Because again, that's a character that we don't know how canon she is. We don't know if she is canon because again, Filoni just told us that Maul's apprentice was only fucking Savage Opress. So
savage.
I'm made to believe she doesn't exist anymore. And then he had another apprentice in Han Solo's girl. So I'm like, he had two apprentices that weren't her. So, you could retcon it and use her now. Fuck it. Why not? So to me, I'm more so looking forward to Plagueis. I just want to see my boy Plagueis the Wise. That's it. And I want to see how Plagueis the Wise leads into Palpatine. And then how Palpatine leads into infiltrating the Republic.
I believe Nihilus did destroy a planet with the Force, if I remember correctly.
Yes, he did. Yeah,
that's what I thought.
Yeah. So Okay, so I'll say this to you, Joel. All the Jedi that Didge just named are the exact thing that you despise the most. Every last one of those characters are OP as fuck.
Which is why I figured it wouldn't be showing them in the Force.
Yeah,
that's why I figured it wouldn't be showing them in the flesh. It would be this character looking at the history book of the Sith, seeing sort of the glory days of
the Sith,
and being like, "Oh, Malak did this."
Was there a counterpart to them? Were there powerful Jedi at that point?
No.
Well, the Sith ruled for 1,000 years. Is what you're talking?
No.
That's what you just said. Basically.
No. I'm saying a lot of the times the Sith killed themselves.
Yeah.
Rather than Jedi beating them. So
that's why there's only two. You can't trust each other.
That's what I'm saying. That's where the rule essentially came from. Because if you have too many, what stops 3 and 4 from killing 1 and 2 and now becoming the new 1 and 2?
Yeah.
So they were
7,
all
8,
OP.
9. Oh, fuck you, 7.
There's a reason why, Joel, when people talk about Star Wars things that they want, you hear those names. You never hear any classic Jedi names. Jedi didn't really mean much. It was the Sith at the time.
I mean, if they're gonna have, if the rumors are true and they do have Revan, you're gonna get Malak. You're gonna get. That's probably it. From if you're gonna get Revan, you're probably for sure gonna get Malak because you're gonna get that Sith Empire.
Yeah.
Well, I'll push back on that, Joe. Joe said Filoni also told us the Darksaber can be handed off, and then said no in Mando. Me and Joel talked about that. That wasn't a retcon. So if you watch Rebels, it was never earned by Bo-Katan. So essentially, Sabine found it, right? And then when Sabine found Bo-Katan, she assumed it should go to the rightful ruler of Mandalore. And then that was when Bo-Katan said, no, you've earned this, right? Because she did fight off the Force Ghost, or she fought off Maul and whatever those ghost things were in the temple where she found the Darksaber. So she was essentially saying, as a warrior, you've earned it. So it wasn't just like, hey, I don't want it, you have it. It was more so just like, Sabine found it, thought it should go to the rightful owner, and when Bo-Katan said, no, you've earned this in battle, you keep it, it then became, that's how she got it. Now, the question mark is, how did Moff Gideon get it away from Sabine? That's the question we have to figure out. But Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I thought it was during. Oh no, that wouldn't make sense. Never mind. Disregard it. I was gonna say I thought it was during the Empire taking it, but it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah, no, not the Empire taking. I would have given you the Siege of Mandalore, maybe.
Well, that would have been during. Well, I guess you wouldn't consider that the Empire. So yeah,
not yet, not fully yet.
Because that's what I was talking about. But
yeah. So yeah, it was never just a handoff. I know a lot of people because they only vaguely remember that from Rebels. It seemed like that, but when you go back and watch Rebels, it wasn't a hot potato. Sabine just found it. It wasn't like Sabine took it from somebody.
She never earned it.
Right. She found it, so she was trying to give it to someone she thought was the proper ruler of Mandalore. Right. And then Bo-Katan was just like, no, you worked hard as hell to get this. You keep it. It's yours. And at the time, Bo-Katan wasn't in the right mental space to be a leader of Mandalore. It wasn't something she wanted.
I gotta say, she ages well.
God damn, yes she does. Oh, yes she does. Damn, I love Bo-Katan. All right, anyway. So I'm mostly looking forward to Bad Batch. I'm getting my Republic Commandos. Yes! I fucking can't wait, man. And I want to see Omega, like how further she progresses in her skill set. Because apparently she's just an amalgamation of all the brothers. So it's like, all right, well, how much of this? Because we saw her tap into a lot of Hunter in season 1. Because, she hung around him the most, more so than necessarily anybody else. So what does she do going forward? As Joelle pointed out to me when we did our breakdown, she has her own helmet now that looks pretty dope as fuck. She's still got her bow and arrow. So I'm just curious to see her progression.
Jedi 2?
They were frozen. They weren't in carbonite, but they were frozen.
What were they doing though?
They were
definitely just trophies.
Yeah,
they were trophies? Was that a trophy room?
Which very dark to just take a youngling as a trophy, just to have it.
I also do believe he put them on ice to experiment on them, and then when they probably didn't have what he needed, he was just like, "Well, fuck it, hang them up, put them on a wall, let them fucking sit there." But yeah, we do know Palpatine's. Because here's the reason why I want you guys for Acolyte to see Plagueis. Plagueis was obsessed with living forever, with becoming immortal, right? It was the whole plan of him and Palpatine's. And it's essentially why Palpatine killed that motherfucker. So Palpatine's obsession became, how can I extract as much power to make myself immortal? You know what I'm saying? So it makes sense that he put people on ice. Like, I might fucking need you one day. Sit right fucking there. Don't you move. What's more sad about the youngling being there is that means he took him right from the fucking temple. Like remember how Kenobi started with the kids with the helmets on running around? That means you pluck the motherfucker right there. Yeah. Put him right on.
You know what's funny? I saw that and I thought of Riva. I'm like, that bitch walks through there all the time, probably.
Yeah, probably looks at him like, ha, I made it. She probably looks at him like, ha, I made it. You should listen to me.
That's so dark.
But yeah, I was just more so upset that there wasn't more noticeable faces. I would have liked to have seen more faces that like, oh, I know who that was. And it makes sense that they're a trophy. You know how hard it was to fucking capture them? But I am also looking forward to us seeing Quinlan Voss. You mentioned him. Now it's like, well, you gotta fucking show him. Sorry.
Yeah.
It was the most random thing to just mention him at all. You could have just said, oh, it's a Jedi came through here and this was right. And it could have been a Jedi that meant nothing. That fucking died the next day. Mentioning Quinlan Voss, one of the dopest looking Jedi ever, we need to see.
Remember, we were talking about it on Twitter, who we thought was good.
Yeah. I thought that's why they were suspended but not dead for experimentation for Palpatine setting up Rise of Skywalker better. I can tell you right now, nobody is trying to make those movies make better sense. But it does lead into what Palpatine was doing by the time you got there. But I can guarantee you there's no way Filoni and that team gives a shit about.
That's not what they're worried about right now.
Yeah. It's why this takes place so far away from them.
I do believe they will at some point.
We'll see. We'll definitely, because that'll be interesting. That's where the word retcon will come in heavily.
Well, I think they can do it. If anybody can do it, it's them. You know.
Yeah, when you get back to it, that's where you got to retcon a lot of shit. Like, a lot. Of shit.
I mean, to me, they improved upon the prequels, and I like the prequels, but they made it better.
Revenge of the Sith is still my favorite fucking Star Wars movie. And then watching Clone Wars was just like, oh yeah. It kind of just reinforced it. Like, yeah, I love all this. Joel, what are you looking forward to the most?
What were my options again?
This year. Just this year. Yeah.
What's coming? So you have
Andor, Bad Batch, Tales of the Jedi. I
think that's it.
And that's it.
Probably Bad Batch. Cause I'm looking forward to Andor. I am, but I need to see what they're doing before I get excited for Andor. Bad Batch, on the other hand, I'm really like those motherfuckers, and I really do, and I can't wait to hang out with them again. I have a thing for teams. I like teams, so they're a cool unit. So I just can't wait to see them do their thing again.
And what the reason why the needle for me pushed more towards Bad Batch, you showed me Rex in the trailer. Anytime you want to give me Rex, I'm fucking eating that shit up. Are you serious? Yeah, I can't wait. And speaking of which, we still haven't fucking seen Cody. Who the fuck is Cody at?
That's true. The fuck?
What the fuck is Cody doing? All right, last thing. Joe says Rey Skywalker is a retcon. Rey Skywalker is a retcon from movie A to movie B to movie C.
Yeah, every movie it's a new.
I really wish they would have went the route that was theorized after playing Battlefront 2. When they were saying it was I keep forgetting Admiral Versio, his daughter, she defected in Battlefront 2.
Yes. Yep.
And they were like, those were Rey's parents. And I was like, yeah, that works. They were separated enough that it was like somebody saying there nobody's makes sense. And they were attached enough that it's like
I didn't dislike that.
My biggest issue with Star Wars is Star Wars seems like a small town.
Yes.
Right? You sometimes forget it's a fucking galaxy because you keep rooting everybody to being related to that person,
Right.
It's there's not more galaxy out there. Palpatine's granddaughter, that's where you had to go.
That's why I said the Admiral Versio, making it Versio's granddaughter. That was perfect.
Look, I was even okay with the idea of finding out that Kenobi wasn't as tied to the Jedi code as we thought he was, right? That there was a daughter out there. If you wanted to say that Rey was a granddaughter, I'm fine with that. But that he did have a kid. You know what I'm saying? Again, it would have been retcon, but I mean, you fucking already did that once you got to these 3 movies. You just found ways to just shit on things. So I'm like, well, fuck it, shit on that then, you know?
Right.
I think it could be
exactly. I was like, yes, it makes perfect sense. I had never been so embarrassed to my dad because my dad's a huge Star Wars fan too. So I was going in and telling him like, yeah, you don't got this knowledge. I got this for you. Let me tell you. Then we go in to see it and it's wrong, and I'm like, oh.
Shout out to Chips and Sticks of our amazing writing team. Shout out to you. There's so many Star Wars stories within the Star Wars universe that are worth exploring. The Skywalker saga got to die at some point. I tell you this, unfortunately, Skywalker for Star Wars is like Batman for DC. That shit'll never die. It'll never die.
He's not wrong.
It'll never die. It just will never die.
That's the legacy. That's the legacy.
Unfortunately, it'll never die. And unfortunately, what makes it worse is when you created the newer movies where we thought we were getting away from it. You fucking brought Luke in, you brought Leia in, you brought Han in, you brought Chewie in. Yeah. It let us know right then and there, nah, we can't get away.
Then you made sure that the main character of the trilogy had the name Skywalker moving forward.
And then here's the kicker. Then you go, hey, we're gonna do a show called The Mandalorian. It takes place in a time that's not really been explored much, right? And we're like, okay. And then you find that way to bring in Skywalker's ex-Padawan and then bring in his son. And then it's just like, you're just going to keep circling that fucking shit till we're just like, you know what? Fuck it. We're just living in a Skywalker world. Fuck it. You know? It just is what it is.
I mean, I wasn't bitching when I saw it, so.
You said, say it again?
So I wasn't bitching when I saw that, so.
Hey, Luke and Anakin are my all-time favorite Star Wars characters. It's like Batman. I told you, Joel. When people keep telling me there's a fatigue of Batman, I'll never fucking understand that. You get tired of Batman? Maybe if you kept getting it correctly, there wouldn't be such a fatigue. But to me, you can keep giving them to me. I'm just saying if someone decided tomorrow they wanted to explore new characters, I wouldn't be offended. I wouldn't be offended at all. Well, they're all pretty much dead now. So what is Rey going to do? Train more Jedi when she doesn't have much training herself? Granted, Luke didn't. But I don't know. Well, the difference is, and they're using Luke against us. And what I mean by that is Luke was supposed to be an anomaly, right? That he was so strong in the Force, there wasn't much to teach him outside of just strictly technique and how to better explore certain avenues. He was just so overwhelmingly strong in the Force, there was nothing to teach him. They're now using that against us by saying Rey is another anomaly that's just so fucking in tune with the Force that she's just so overwhelmingly powerful. Training isn't a thing she needs. So they're using it against us, unfortunately. So yes, I believe they will revisit where she trains Jedi. She's a Skywalker now. And then people will acknowledge her as a Skywalker to further continue that.
Yep. It really was. They don't want to get rid of that name.
They don't. It just sells too much.
Well, now that you could just pass it on, you know, like.
No, I think even so, I think they fucked up.
Fucking baton.
I feel like they were writing it, and in the middle, I feel like when they wrote off that Ben Solo died, they were like, shit, no more actual Skywalkers. Wait.
Because I'm like, you killed the wrong one.
What I would do is she took on the name of Skywalker. I would have made it a rank, like a past master. I am now a Skywalker.
I feel like that's what they're gonna. I feel like that's what they do then with it is like now it's a Jedi rank.
Yeah, it's a rank instead of a name now.
Which is still but
that is very That is like what the fuck. Oh man. Okay. All right. We're getting out of here. Oh man, I don't want to keep thinking about that. That makes me very sad. But all right, this was, like we all agreed, this was a okay episode, if that, of Kenobi. You just really got this next episode better make me willing to spoil shit 4:00 in the morning. Because when Mando season 2 ended, I was ready to hop right to Twitter and just put long, extensive love about Luke Skywalker, and not giving a fuck. That's how perfect that episode was. 5 needs to do that. 6 needs to do that. Hopefully they do.
It's big. It's big.
You got a lot working against you. I will say what helps Kenobi for a lot of people, not some, but a lot, is that Miss Marvel's the same day. So you can kind of at some point just deflect one. Like, oh shit, Miss Marvel was so great. Like, Kenobi was okay, but Miss Marvel, bro, it just helps the balance. It really does. It does. But all right, guys, I want to thank Trevon, Joel, Didge. I almost said Juwaan. And most importantly, Jayla, that's been working behind the scenes, making this great stream work as well as it has. Thank you very much. I also want to give a huge shout out to Joe from Just Your Average Joe. Make sure you guys follow him on YouTube. He'll be doing his stream at some point for Kenobi. Also, thank you very much for the super chats. Chips and Sticks, love you, man. Great rider for the team. We appreciate you. I know you definitely wanted to hop in here, so I'm glad you did. And of course, as always, Mr. E and listener Jim, we appreciate you guys. So I hope you guys like the new layout. You'll be seeing it a lot more going forward. This will be our layout for how we structure our shows. So again, a huge, massive thank you to Jayla. That has been just awesome. Make sure you guys tune in tomorrow night for The Last Scare. That is Jayla's horror podcast that had an amazing first week last week. It's already charting over 100 views.
Awesome.
So make sure you guys check that out tomorrow. Whole lot of spooky shit going down. And there's been some Scream 6 news that I guarantee you Jayla will be breaking down. If there's one thing that Jayla loves outside of Spider-Man, it's Scream. So best believe all that will be broken down tomorrow. So tune in for that. We appreciate it, Chips and Sticks. Huge shout out to y'all, man. That this was dope. Thank you. I'm not sure about GVN Talk this week, or GVN Roundtable. So I'll definitely let you guys know. But me and Joel will definitely be doing Much Ado About Nothing next week. Also GVN Sports next week, and then again MCR and Galactic Review in the same day. Luckily, we only got 2 more weeks of that, and then it's just Miss Marvel. Because goddamn,
this was a lot. Yeah, this was a lot of podcasts.
Unless there's 4 more episodes.
Now, if there's 4 more episodes, sorry, y'all gonna get one of these breakdowns Wednesday, one of them just Thursday. Because I ain't giving y'all a whole run of Miss Marvel and a whole extended run of Kenobi. Goodness gracious, that's why I might not. Tomorrow's a rest day.
Tomorrow's definitely.
Look, man, me and Joel, we remember doing all of Fandom, top to bottom, doing all of San Diego Comic-Con,
Fandom was hell.
Fandom.
This is just too much.
Marathon.
Fandom was hell. We live tweeted it and live streamed it. Me and Deuces were tired. I'm like, I don't want to see you right now.
Tired, man. I got so sick the next day, I couldn't see something geek related. Like someone's like, "Yo, Juwaan, more news." Nuh-uh. Don't tell me nothing. I gave you all the news you intend on hearing from me yesterday. That's it.
Yeah.
Give me a day.
I get
at
it.
least. Goodness gracious. So we got a lot more in store for you guys, so make sure you stay tuned for it. But till then, peace.
Peace.